Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to St. Paul's 7th grade confirmation class. Today we're going to be talking about terms of the church. We're going to specifically look at vestments that the pastors wear. So I want you to look at a pastor's vestment like a uniform when he performs duty. So you see military people and you see airline pilots. And when they wear a uniform, there's certain duties that we know and standards that they follow. And the same thing happens with the pastor when he wears the vestments. So part of the pastor's uniform is a shirt with a collar backwards. That collar evolved from them commonly worn in the 1700s, but it became a traditional collar and worn by clergy, and it evolved into various types. So now you'll see a piece of plastic in the front, but I want to show you this picture. And so that's what we're looking at today. So some pastors wear a clerical shirt when they are on duty. Some only wear it when they're leading worship. A few, not at all. So I just want you to be familiar with that. Even though we don't do that at St. Paul's, we do wear that shirt when we are on duty. You may someday be at a different denomination or a different tradition, and you may not even see them wear one. So gowns worn by the pastors for worship originated with the robes worn by various professions before modern pants developed. I thought that was very interesting. Robes worn by judges and academic gowns during graduations have the same roots. This was everyday clothing for clergy and teachers and other professions at one time. The black gown worn by the pastor today is called a cassock. So remember that term, the black gown worn is the cassock. And as you can see, it is underneath everything. Okay, that's the first layer. For worship, pastors would put on a clean white gown over that. And in colder climates such as Germany, this would help them when they put heavy clothing underneath there because it's so cold. So that's why the white gown over top is loosely fitting. This loose fitting clean white gown goes over the cassock, and it's called the surplice. In warmer climates, you may see a pastor wear a white gown with a robe tied at the waist, and this is called an alb. Now, in more recent years, this is more common, but you will also see communion assistants wear this at times. So over time, a symbolic significance has attached to the traditional clothing. The black clothing is a symbol of human sinfulness, which is covered by the righteousness of Christ, symbolized on the white clothing that goes over the black. So during worship, pastors wear a colored stole, and that will match the altar parements according to the season of the year. So the stole is placed on the pastor at ordination. So at ordination, he gets his first stole, and that is really, really important. And it shows that he will carry or she will carry the responsibility for the spiritual care of the congregation. The symbolic yoke was worn by oxen and other draft animals as they used to carry their load. So that's why the pastor wears this stole, because it's really important because he's carrying a big load to take care of all of us. These vestments help to draw attention to the unique roles in the service that they're doing in their worship, rather than putting the attention on themselves as individuals. So sometimes you'll see a large poncho over the pastor. This is a chasuble. It is a full-cut poncho worn over the other vestments, usually during Holy Communion by the officiating pastor. It symbolizes God's embracing the whole family through the sacrament of Holy Communion. Now, the chasuble and the alb Now remember the alb, I said that was the white gown with the rope around it. That is used at St. Paul's during communion and communion Sundays. So that's important to remember because every denomination, every church will be different, but that's what we do here at St. Paul's. So I'm going to show you this picture again. So there's the stole, and there's the surplice, and underneath is the cassock. So that's what you will see with a pastor. And the alb and the poncho you will see worn during communion Sundays. So that's important to remember. I also want to go over some terms that I think are important. So the first one we're going to talk about is an acolyte. So what is an acolyte? So these people light the candles and get the offering plates during worship. How about a lector? What's a lector? Well, these people read the lessons during worship. Then we have the choir. Well, these are the people who sing or play instruments during worship. And when you walk into the church and somebody says, "Good morning, have a great day, please join us for worship," that's called your greeter. And then you'll come and the people will hand you a worship bulletin. And they are the ushers. And they'll also take your offering at some point during the service. Who creates these bulletins during the week? Well, that is our administrative assistant. And in our church, it's Miss Meg. These people who choose hymns to sing and prepare the sermon and prayers every week. And that is our pastor. Now we have to have people to set up the flowers and to prepare the altar. I wonder who they are. Well, that's called the altar guild. And the people who help the pastor to administer the bread and wine during communion, they are the communion assistants. And then we have some other terms. We have people who carry the cross in and out of the sanctuary on special occasions. Okay, they're called crucifers. And we have people who print the bulletins and do the inserts. We need them more than anything in this church. And that is our office volunteers. And people who carry torches in and out of the sanctuary, they're called torch bearers. So these are all very, very important terms that you want to remember. And also we're going to look at terms in the church, okay? Like the altar. The altar is the table in the center. And then we have a chancel. That's the front area near the altar. And the font. The font is where the receptacle of water for baptism. Very important. The loft is where you'll hear the choir sing and instruments being played. The narthex, the narthex is the lobby or entrance area, and the nave is the worship area. The pulpit, this is where the pastor will give his sermon on the pulpit. The sacristy, that is the robing room. The paraments, they're the altar and the pulpit cloths, and they change colors according to season. Vestments, they're the clothes worn by the pastors and acolytes. And the lectern is a place where lessons are read. So these are all very important terms, and I just want you to remember all of them. So when you come to church, you understand who is doing what's the names of these rooms, what is the name of when a child goes and gets baptized? That's the font. So you want to remember that. And it's really important. And you also want to remember the different people and the roles that they have in the church. So this was our lesson for today. Whoever did come to confirmation class tonight, they got some acolyte training, and Mr. Sterling Spatz did that, and that you may want to get a hold of him for that training as well when we're all back together. Thank you and have a great week.